Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. I am your host, Jen. Welcome. Today we have a special guest, Trey Styles. Our good friend is back on the show. He is the author of Black Man Arise from the great city of Detroit, and he is working on his next project. He will share and contribute to the show today. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Trey,
I'm happy to be
welcome.
here. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
For sure, definitely. And so, you're welcome, and we appreciate you. Today, we're going to get into a topic about hip hop. All right, and so we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and so we want to talk about the impact of hip hop. As Trey and I are both really big fans, and so it felt appropriate to touch on this topic in some way or shape or form. And so we're going to talk about the influence in the music, the culture, society, and social justice. Social justice is a theme that's really important to this show, as you guys know. And so, this is what we're going to talk about today. The 50th anniversary of hip hop is significant for a number of reasons. First, is a chance to celebrate the rich history and culture of hip hop. It has come a long way since its humble beginnings in the Bronx in 1970s, and has become a global phenomenon. I think I put in here a lot of people thought it wouldn't last, and it has. Your thoughts on like the beginnings of hip hop from a global that how it's become global?
Well, I think it's actually very, very, very amazing because, like you said, people thought it was going to be a fad, but hip hop as we know it evolved in the Bronx, New York. It was founded by a group of Black Americans, and I think that's the thing that's so important to me is to see something that comes from our community and just be so global, just something that just really shapes the world and impacts the world. And it impact it's the number one music. It's the number one music like a category now. Period. So I think that's what's so unique about it, and I think that's what's special
Mm-hmm.
about it because it lets you know, despite your beginning, it's where you come from. You can you can do it in a major way, and I think that's what's so special about hip hop to me.
Definitely. We wanted to talk about the influence, and it's so influential, not only on the culture and society, but people internationally. I mean, you can look at like how hip hop is in Asian cultures and like Japan and things like that. Um, how they can mimic, dance moves, and they just inspired by the culture. Your thoughts on like that international influence that we've seen on TV with the dance and the, all that type of thing.
Well, the international influence, I think, is a good thing in itself, just to influence the world because hip hop first and foremost, which is Black American culture, and we must keep that clear. We must not let people forget that. Even I think it's a good thing for it to be global. I think that's a special thing. Now, I think it's important that people should know the history of hip hop and to know where it comes from and who it comes from. And so I think it's cool for them to learn about hip hop, want to be a part of hip hop, but just understand the history and the roots of hip hop and where it comes from and who it comes from. So so often to me, a lot has come from our community. A lot has come up from the African American community in America, and a lot of people sometimes they may like to uh, implement use our culture or mimic our culture, excuse me, but they may not have a respect for us as a people. Act like we haven't created anything, but they forget where a lot of this music, a lot of the culture come from. So there's nothing wrong with them liking hip hop, wanting to do hip hop, but I think it's always important for people to know what hip hop is, where it come from, and who created hip hop.
Definitely. I agree with that. Yeah, it's definitely undeniable that Black Americans, started this, and we may have had our swagger jacked or what have you, but we know who the
Yeah,
originators are for sure. Um,
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. That's something that just can't be denied. And
right.
I'm so glad that a lot of the brothers from New York, Bronx, New York, came out and said, oh no, this is totally a Black American thing. You know, we created hip hop. You know, because people was coming out with a lot of misinformation and people was trying to, hijack our culture, of different communities. And I'm glad they came out about it. So it's been a big thing. And I also know that Tariq Nasheed is also doing a documentary on it, on hip hop, and he's talking with the brothers that was in New York to show who actually could, you know, we know it, but to show this unequivocal proof that this was created solely by Black American and Black American influences.
Okay, that's dope. Yeah, there's been a lot of documentaries popping up that I've been glad to see. One about female MCs
Mm-hmm.
is out there, I think, on Netflix. So I'm glad you're capturing and documenting our culture in this way because it's history. It really is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that makes me smile, especially the female MC. That was a really huge part and influence. The female rappers we have right now. If it wasn't for the ones that came before them.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important though when you talk about the female aspect of it, because you got to think that early on you had MC Light and Queen Latifah, and a lot of them, like, they message
Hmm.
and it was a little different than a lot of the messages today. Same with the male on the male side, the message that was put out there was a lot different. But I'm not gonna lie and say some of the things we see have never been there, because it's always been vestiges of these things, and not only the earliest days of hip hop, but also like other musical forms too. Because a lot of people quickly jump on the artists and say, "Oh, you have the Lil Kims, the Foxy Browns, the uh, all these rappers that the women that talk a certain way." But I had to remind older people. I said, "Yeah, it was a time that although y'all sweep it under the rug, y'all had Millie Jackson. Nobody talks. Nobody talks about stuff Millie
Right.
Jackson was doing. He was kind of wild. No, ain't no kind of wild. Millie Jackson was wild. So I'll just say, like, some of these things you see, it might be more in your face. It might be more prevalent now, but some of these things, it just didn't come out of nowhere. So
That's true. And I want to say that was like the 70s or something, right?
yeah. Like the late '70s, I think Millie Jackson was doing her thing. But yeah, I saw her. I saw. I saw a couple of her in the
Yeah. And
audience
some,
actually going. She was going in the audience actually grabbing men by the private parts. I'm like, oh boy.
wow. No.
Yeah, yes, there's an
Oh,
actual
wow.
clip
And
on the
then,
YouTube.
someone hit
Yeah,
me to, I guess, oh, wow. But yeah, I mean, okay, so you want to talk about like the content of the ladies or what have you. Millie Jackson, okay, so that's the 70s. But someone hit me to a 90s rapper that kind of went over my radar because I was a kid, Choice. She's actually from Houston and she kind of
no
had
problem.
that kind of spicy flow too, with like a
Mhm.
lot of sexual type of content and things like that. Her recently, I want to say, I'm looking it up now. It's been so many that just they were here and then they were gone. You know what I mean? But shout out to all the female MCs.
So I'm gonna ask you something, Joe. I'm gonna ask you something, Jen. Okay. So what do you think about that personally, as a woman?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have freedom expression.
Uh-huh.
Why are you laughing? That's
Oh no, 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 I
real.
just really, yeah, we do. I just want
It's
to hear your opinion on that, because I want to ask you, because one
yeah. I
actually
mean, okay.
one in particular has recently came from your city, right? So I want to know
Oh
like
God, not
yeah,
her.
yeah, I mean, okay, so I just want to know like what's up, Jen? St. Louis.
Um, yeah, our cities put on. You know,
Okay, okay,
shout out to all the female MCs,
okay,
even
okay.
that one.
Yeah. That one, oh
Hey,
no,
it's a place for everyone, right?
right, right, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, if it's for the grown folks, it's for the grown folks. But I
Okay,
feel
okay.
like, she should have the right to say what she wants. She's an adult. Men are out here saying what they want, so I feel like the ladies should be able to have, but
Oh, and how do you because we know how we do. We know how we do when we get together. And how do you feel about the men? And how do you personally feel about men saying the stuff they do?
But you know what? Some of the songs we take it too far, and sister girl did take some of them lyrics like to the extreme. Because it's always like, oh my god, it's like you leaving nothing to the imagination. But okay, go off, you know, you know, go off. All right, damn. Talk about what color things are and things like that. I don't know if we need to go there, but go off, sis, go.
Oh man.
And then it's one song by a man that I just really kind of personally kind of find
Mm,
gross. But you know what? Hey, we have the right to say what we want. Look at the historic. Who was that? Luke Nim that went all the way to Congress with parental advisory. That's forever documented in the history books to have that freedom of speech, which is important. We didn't like it. You may not like it. Your mom might not like it, but we should have, as artists and creatives, have that ability to say, oh, we want, as long as we're doing it legally, you have to put that label across it, what I'm saying, whatever.
yeah, it's just definitely a different time though. It's just like
Your thoughts on that? Because that was like historic.
yeah, I think you're talking about Luke.
Hmm.
Luke and talking about Luke and his crew,
Yeah.
what they
Hmm.
did.
Two Life Crew.
Too Loud Crew, yeah. What I personally think about it, I mean, ideally, I mean, you do have the freedom of speech. I mean, so I get that, at least in theory, that we have the right to freedom of speech. But overall, like, personally, I understand them going and winning because they had that right, but I don't think it really did us any good. Like, I mean, no disrespect to them, I'm not hating on them. I don't think it did us any good as a community, as a black community, because of how you know how the women were portrayed. Now I'm not gonna act like we don't like everybody. Single person is a high moral person. That's just not the reality. But sometimes just like what you put out there, that message is sent around the world. And I remember being in class and undergraduate in my Africana studies class, and I remember a sister saying she went to Brazil, and because she was a black woman from America, they people over there wanted her to start dancing like the women did in the videos. And she's like, no, that's not that's
Hmm.
not my style. But it's just like that image, just became a thing. Like, you know, there's it just became a thing that's what everybody doing, and that gets promoted. Like when I remember Tupac had a line in his song. He said, if I choose to, I might mess the words up a little bit. That's my favorite artist, but I might slip up on this. He said, if I choose to ride, thug until the day I die, nobody gives a f about us. But if I choose to rise, a hero in my children's eyes, now they give a f about us. So he essentially saying like when you're doing stuff that's safe or stuff that's non-threatening or that's detrimental to your community, they permit that. But when you start talking about community upliftment, talking about growth, that's where the problems come in. That's when you become a threat to the status quo, the system or whatever. So I understand. I agree with them having freedom of speech. They have the right to say what they want to say. But I mean, personally, on the personal side, I didn't think it really helped us in our community at all, though.
Okay. Well, it didn't help the community. I mean, that's an opinion or what have you, but I just feel like prohibiting the artist kind of prohibits the art. And people, especially Madonna, for example, she, has been sexy where she has, people view sexy and things like that. But when black people, you know what I mean, like they get extended grace that we don't get extended the grace for. So I just feel like
Mm-hmm.
we should have that freedom, even if we don't like it. If it's market adult, if it is adult content, and it's just a matter of preference. Okay, if you feel like it's not moving the culture further, but I feel like we
Mm-hmm.
should still, these artists should have the are sexy, whatever, whatever. Even the one song I find is kind of gross that they play on the radio,
Mm-hmm.
but he has a right to be able to say it, you know what I mean? And if he's following the parameters with his clean version, which even though the clean version, you can like, okay, I know exactly what he's saying, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I don't want a little kid to hear that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we as adults have to step up and monitor if this is not appropriate for kids. Okay, the little kids shouldn't be playing WAP or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
I get it if it's not everything is not meant to move the culture forward, you know what I mean? Some things are just like for fun and things like that.
But and I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying like that's like I'm just saying I agree that they had the freedom of speech, but I said like just personally, I didn't think it was any good for us as a
Right.
community. And I understand that
Yeah.
they had it right, but even when you talk about like the parental advisory stickers and things like that, the difference is like a lot of times is that especially in this era, like uh you can your kids can it's like access to porn, access to naked pictures. It's like it's just like you really can't really block that from them. Like they turn on TV, it's right there in front of them. And I think all these things that happen is before prior. It's the reason things are the way they are now. Like it isn't operating a vacuum. So I agree that we got the right to say what we want to say. I looked at. I'm from Detroit, like as you know,
Hmm.
and I looked at I was looking at Joe Lewis, how they talk to Joe Lewis. You know what I'm saying? And like how he spoke. Like, what do you think,
Hmm.
Joe? What do you think, boy? They was talking to Joe Lewis, heavyweight champion, like that, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, I didn't like that." You know what I'm saying? I didn't like.
Hmm.
So when Ali came along, even though neither one
Yeah.
of us was here, and he expressed himself like, "Yeah, I'm all about that. Us having the freedom to express ourselves." But Ali also like stood for something like black empowerment. I'm not expecting everybody to be Ali. I'm just saying like personally, I think it just it didn't really help us. It's like everything you see like that was meant to be a tool of expression is cool, but things that was meant to be upliftment, things that was meant to
Hmm.
uplift us. A lot of times it's been turned against us. Our own culture has been turned against us and
Hmm.
used for bad, and that happened. That has happened countless times. Like even when we talk
Hmm.
about like being in the Western world, everything that's black is considered bad. Everything that's considered white is considered good. Look in the Webster dictionary. I'm
Hmm.
just saying something like that's what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Like I personally think they got a right to say what they want to say. They got the freedom of speech. Like in movies that I plan to write, and my book that I wrote, certain words are used. Because it's based on the reality of it that I grew up in and what I see. So I get that
Hmm.
part of it. But like the only thing, I'm just saying like it kind of hurts us. Like, and we talked about Madonna at the same time. While you talk about Madonna, you got so many other white role models that represent something different, or they show something different about them. So it's a balance, and we don't control the media. The media is not controlled by
Hmm.
us, so they can always show balance for them, but they can't. we got to be able to show balance for ourselves first and foremost. But like on the mainstream media, we don't have no control over
We
that.
do.
So that's why I say like that was just my contention on that thing, because Malcolm X said like the media is the most powerful entity on earth. It has the power to make a bad man look good and a good man look bad. And that's what I was saying. Like it's just kind of like the image is really like destroy our image.
Definitely.
So so I agree with freedom of speech, but I just want us to I just think it kind of hurt us more than helped us, like at least what Luke them did. And I just blaming Luke. I'm
Hmm.
That's not a problem because when I was a little kid, I heard the music too. So and some of it as a little kid, I was liking because I saw grown
Right.
people listening to, and I shouldn't have been hearing that, but I learned how to spell bad words
Hmm.
sometimes listening to hip hop, and but so it is what it is.
Right.
And also I want to be clear too, Jen.
Yeah.
One last thing with hip hop, people understand hip hop and actually rap is different though. So a lot of times what we listen to now is
Hmm.
rap. Hip hop was just not rap. Rap was a part of hip hop. Hip hop was breakdancing, it was the b boy, and it was graffiti. It was a couple other things I'm missing out, but it was rap. It was a couple other things that, so hip hop and like as we know it, hip hop is really different from rap. Like rap is a part of hip hop. So that's like a little
Yes.
different.
I'm glad you mentioned those elements of hip hop. Definitely, very important to the acknowledging the 50 years. So I'm looking it up, right? So part of those elements are lyricism, or MCing, okay,
Mm-hmm.
DJing,
Mm-hmm.
boying, or be girling, which is the break dance movement. That's a whole piece right there. We talked about how that dance is mimicked. You might see Japanese kids, with isolations and all the different movements. So that's b-boying, breakdancing, whatever. Another one is graffiti. So the
Mm-hmm.
art, graffiti. And then this one says the fifth one is historical knowledge of the movement. So I think that's significant to acknowledge those pillars or elements of hip hop.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, okay, so we talked about the ones that kind of shuck up the game with their content. But what about the ones that, kind of did the right thing for the culture, or, that kind of, I don't know how you want to say it. They took a risk and did something different to be more like maybe back in the 80s, the Africa, the ones that were more like Afrocentric, and they, talked, or Public Enemy, social justice, kind of bringing that social justice piece
Mm-hmm.
into the conversation now. What do you think about the ones, you had to be taking a risk? Public Enemy, they're talking about, I got a letter from the government the other day. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
that's not what the typical rapper was talking about, but they decided to go to the left with it and be different and still give you, great beats or whatever, scratching the DJ elements. So you had all the hip hop elements, had people doing the military dance. I mean, they were just like a culture.
Yeah. And that's good. And props to them because it's always harder to go against the grain. It's always harder because you you risk sometimes
Hmm.
you risk not selling as much, you risk not being as popular, you risk not uh people not really supporting you like that. Now I'm so glad that we're talking about this because one of the guys that definitely stood out to me in that time was KRS-One, but his initial approach, to the game was
Hmm.
different, and he also he also had attention with your city's own Nelly. Him and Nelly had problems in the past. I know
Hmm.
they was going like, what's hip hop and what's not hip hop, and
Yeah.
so they were going at it. That's kind of like showing the things that hip hop went through. Like, okay, this is not hip hop. He's not really really hip hop, but Nelly put on a whole city, so and like in the region that was like our region,
Yeah.
yeah, and our region in the Midwest was kind of like, well, I think we are the most disrespected region in reality, more so even than the South.
Mm.
But I got my bias, but whatever. But like people like KRS-One, Public Enemy, uh, and people don't realize like Rakim was dropping a lot of science as well. People don't realize like he was like one of the
Yes.
five centers. He was dropping a lot of science, and and then to me the most powerful song that was released in the 80s in hip hop to me personally is Self Destruction. It was released in the what 88, 89,
Mm.
I believe. It had a lot all the black rappers up there, and it was my head for self destruction because in the 80s that's when we started killing each other like that. Like it wasn't a problem back in the 70s and the 60s. When somebody got murdered, it was a
Yes.
thing. But crack hit our community so hard all across America, and it was just a war on our people, and our morals just declined more and more because you can only fight for so long, no matter how strong of a people you are. And it was just the time, the music. It was I think for to come out with those that came out with constructive songs, I got the utmost respect for them because they was there when they saw a community change. So they was actually there before the community was like that and actually saw a change. That's crazy to see somebody you loved as a as an elder in the community or somebody you looked up to or somebody you went to school with, and the next thing you know, this person like a shell themselves because they on drugs, they selling their kids, they selling themselves, they willing to murder, they willing to do anything to
Mm.
to get a dollar. And so I got the most respect for the people like KRS-One, and and
Right.
Public Enemy, and all the ones that was in the Self Destruction video. I know Rakim was kind of like upset. I heard him on the Breakfast Club. Like, I was upset, man. They didn't call me for that. He's like, I was supposed to be on that. Like he was kind of really hurt by that because he wanted to be a part of that.
Oh
But
wow.
yeah. It was kind of like
Yeah.
tension. I guess between him and KRS-One back in the day because he was like, man, he did the self destruction video. He didn't even call me on that. He's like, man, I was supposed to be on that. Yeah, but you look back at that video, Rakim wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they were doing
Okay.
Rakim. hmm So
Huh.
I got the utmost respect for them because it's like
I
it
love that. Hmm.
hmm hmm So I mean, what do you think about those?
No, go ahead.
No, what do you think about the people that took that route? Like,
Yeah,
what
I
else?
definitely. Yeah, it stood up for the social justice things. Yeah, and this just basically did something different. I love that. It's so easy to do what or mimic what everybody else is doing. Like, oh, this is a way to get paid. Let's just, throw our jackets on or start our jackets or whatever and start a rap group. But to be like different, like one of my favorite periods of hip hop is in the 90s when Diggable Planets came out. I have said this on other podcasts, but I just was mesmerized by that whole, like, they went to the left with it. They were they were still from LA? No, they're from New
Mm,
York. They're from New York. They're Brooklyn all day. So, but they, brought that like jazz influence, that hip hop or poetry influence, and that kind of brought us into this whole wave of like appreciating poetry and things like that, and that whole poet culture, which is an entire culture. Okay, that's that piece and all these different things that poets say. And I kind of dibbled and dabbled in the poet. I was a poet back in the day. So I,
yeah, I was too.
love
I was
that.
too. Yeah.
Really,
Oh yeah. I mean,
for
it's crazy. I was. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, rap is poetry, but I know poet in the sense of what you're saying. But I was both of them,
it
and
is.
it's weird. It's weird because
Okay.
I used to write poetry, and it was just spilling out of me. Like as a teenager, I had a whole book of poetry.
Hmm.
I don't know what happened to my book, but it was just I was going through the hardest time of my life, and that poetry got me through.
Wow.
It was just spilling out every time I could write, and it was just come out, and I was just like, it was just constantly spill out. When I was going through the darkest period of my life, it definitely helped me get through something. But I love the '90s too. Like to me, that's the best era of music. Personally, I guess I got my bias. I was a kid
Yeah,
coming up, but I know
definitely.
because of course my favorite hip hop artist period is Tupac, And now I know, some people may feel like
Yeah.
Tupac did some things too. I know that. I know that. But when Tupac came out, when Tupac came out, Brenda's got a baby. Now let me say this, because you're a woman. When you really think about all the hip hop
Yeah.
artists, no hip hop artist ever came from that approach. He wasn't the first one to be politically and socially conscious. I understand that. But he was the first one to come out. Brenda's got a baby,
Hmm.
had a love for black women, despite his flaws. That brought a whole nother reality. I hear Brenda's got a
Right.
baby. He barely got a brain. So that was just unique when him come out from that approach. And
Yeah.
that was thinking in the early '90s. There was a lot of conscious hip hop going on. A lot of it. You had X Clan. It was a lot. You had Brand Nubian. It was a lot of people that was around. Queen Latifah. There was
Hmm.
a lot of good music going on at that time, and it's just like,
Yeah.
but what happened is like you can see I love a lot of the music we made, but you see what happened also in the early '90s. That's when they kind of like this. I guess is what Ice Cube kind of had a problem with people saying like saying that like the West Coast brought the gangsterism to
Mm.
that. I don't necessarily think. I think they get like a disproportionate blame for that because Cool G Rap, he was from the old school. He had gangster songs and things like that from New York and all that. So I mean, but it's just I guess like with the
Okay.
Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and the Chronic, when they came along, it became about being a gangster. It kind of like was transitioning from like conscious hip hop to the gangster hip hop and all that. So, but I definitely props to those people that came out and was just
Yeah, there was a shift for sure.
yeah, it was definitely a shift.
Hmm.
So personally,
And
like
then I guess let's talk about like the yeah. Go ahead.
oh no, so personally, like because you're a fan of hip hop, I'm a fan of hip hop. What do you think about is there any particular time period in hip hop that you love the most? Like it was at the time with the Afrocentric hip hop, was the earliest days with uh the earliest days when it first came out, or was it like when had the gangster rap when it went like to the South, Atlanta, it became like the dancing. Like which period do you like the most?
I would say that 90s period, when you had like, and I just mentioned this, the Diggable Planets, this tribe called Quest, where it
Yeah,
was, we're hearing jazz songs being sampled. You're actually like looping Minnie Ribbleton songs on Tribe Called Quest tracks that we hadn't seen that. You know what I mean? And I just really admire the production of the music at that time period, digging in the crates. And then, you hear producer, rapper like Kanye that kind of came at the end of that period at the very end of the 90s. He had to be influenced by Tribe and, all of those guys, Diggable Planets, to like the backpack rap, you know what I mean? Was a fun time. The old Kanye, of course. Yeah, good times for sure.
yeah, I did like Kanye. I did like Kanye. Not saying I just totally dislike, but I did like his music early on, like those first three albums in particular. Yeah, I liked him. He's
Yeah.
almost me then.
Hmm.
But my favorite era, I find some of the every era I could admire, but of
Definitely.
course, like Pac is my favorite artist. To me, he's the GOAT. I've been said that. That's probably never gonna change for me personally.
Yeah.
But to me, his
Yeah.
music was just you can get some of everything with Tupac. It was just real balance. Like to me, like you get the good, you get the bad, you get the sweet, you get the ugly, you get a little bit of everything. Like some women may feel like, oh yeah, he cussing us out, but at the same time, he got some song we bigging you up. Some guys I feel like he said he riding on the brothers, but then he got some we talking about I'm coming together with
And
my
it
brothers.
seemed like with Tupac, yeah, it was reflective of what he was personally going through in his
Yeah,
life. Obviously what he was talking about, and he went through some dark periods. Like, look how long he sat in jail with, and didn't really get the support, of his peers, and that was a rough time for him. You know what I mean? And then finally, decisions that he made in his career obviously was reflective in his lyrics. He made "Hit 'Em Up" was probably the most controversial
yeah,
uh
yeah.
what you want to call it, battle song ever. He sounds so mad and pissed off in song. It's
Yeah, yeah,
reflective about what he was going through, you know.
yeah. It was. I still remember listening to that on this.
And
That
after
song
seeing
again.
all the movies now, I see that in a
Yeah,
I see it in a different light now because, you know, even though don't you?
uh, I, I I mean, yeah, because for one, I was a little
Um,
kid. I was a little kid when it came out, so I just remember when it was on the radio. Call the cops when you see Tupac, who shot me,
right.
but your song didn't finish. Like you about to feel a wrath of a minute. And I just know it sounded good. You know, that's all it was to me. Like it sounded good. You know, I didn't realize like how detrimental that could be, like to
Yeah.
just him and Biggie's lives, like how people are moved by the media. Like I remember when Tupac
Mhm.
got killed, I was 7, and I was like, damn. I remember my cousin crying in the kitchen because she was such a big fan of Tupac. She had a crush on him. She was a little older than me, and she's in there crying. You know, I'm like, dang, like you're not realizing like how powerful music is, powerful hip hop is, and how it really impacts people. Like people think,
It
oh, it's just
is.
music, it's just music. No, it's powerful. Especially when you're talking about us, like us as a people. Like it's our culture. So it's like culture is what you do. Culture is everything you do, and so we don't realize how that impacts till you grow. To those of us who do grow, because like I saw a podcast
Mhm.
called Art of Dialogue. His father was speaking. Billy Garland, his father was speaking. He was like, he looked back, he's like, yeah,
Mhm.
I look back, my son, like he did do some things that he shouldn't have done. He made some mistakes. And I told him about that, but
Mhm.
he basically was saying like everybody got their flaws and all that. And I think that if you get a chance to check it out, check it out. Because his father was a Panther as well.
Mhm.
So that was
Okay.
I mean, I remember it being a song I was listening to. I just thought it was cool, but then you don't realize till they gone, like wow, man, that was something you don't that was kind of like uh it kind of contribute to the atmosphere where it will make people choose sides and make people think that if it if it was just a rap battle, make people think, oh, it's bigger than that. And I got to choose sides because I'm from this place, he's from this place, or you never know
Mhm.
what it might do to people because some people take sides for various reasons. Some people, may side with somebody just because they're from the same city as them. Somebody with the same region. Some people because they don't like a person, they don't like the way a person look, the way a person talk, the way a person confident. So you never know. You can never really assess how that impacts people until you get older and realize like, yeah, now I see. And it wasn't until I got 25 and got past 25, and I realized like, man, Tupac and Biggie, they were basically kind of like kids in a way. And I mean, because I'm like they were young. You
Mhm.
know, it's really like really think about it. It was like 5, 6 years ago. Both of them at their age, they both were like teenagers. So yeah, not until you get past that age, you get in that stage, like wow, man, like that was definitely a short life. And I didn't realize how serious it was.
Right. Definitely. I think all of these have been really great examples of how hip hop has been influential in the culture, society, socially. Um, you know, look at the ones like your Kendrick Lamar's of more recent hip hop that have those kind of social justice movement songs that have kind of been in the background. And obviously, he had to be inspired of what has been going on socially, with the Trayvon Martins and Mike
Oh yeah.
Brown and different situations. So we still have artists, Common, that are inspired. Oh my God, Common has this song about Sada Shakur. I almost forgot about it. Someone
Mm-hmm.
brought that to my attention. So he has always from the beginning of his career been tapped into, you know, history and showing that, bringing that to the culture and putting that in his music. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely shout out to the ones that have, took a risk, like you said, to throw some history in there or paint that picture, Kendrick Lamar, of what's going on socially.
Mm-hmm. And props to like when we talk about hip hop, like on the woman's side, like Lauren Hill to me was one of those that definitely. I know we talked about it on the
Yes.
previous show. But she is definitely one of those ones that like really pushed it, like with the music she was putting out there, and she held black men and black women accountable on her music. That's what I like about her. Like she was,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was just a whole movement at that time in the '90s, and even Sister Soldier, she had made a rap album. She was down with Public Enemy at one point. That's one of my favorite writers. Period. And I
Mm.
love her work and everything. And she was one of those ones that was really pushing hard for us as well.
Yes.
So you had. I don't know if you remember DC Nonchalant. Do you remember Nonchalant, the one who came out the 5 o'clock in the morning song? Like 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yes.
outside
Yes.
on the corner. So it was just it was a time. Her DC Chocolate City. So the population had changed now, but like at that time, it was just like
Mm.
it was a lot. It was a lot of people out there really really pushing it, and
Yeah,
that
that
was
was a
a song
dope
that
song.
it was a dope song, and people don't realize Coolio with Gangsta's Paradise. See, some people listen to that song and think, "Oh, he's talking about being a gangster,"
Oh
but
yeah,
you don't realize that he's giving a message to, he's speaking to the youth, like who feel like nobody's
definitely.
there to help. I don't want to. I don't want to start saying some of the lyrics. I'm, it's been a while. I might mess up some of the lyrics, but he was saying, "How can I learn if nobody here to teach me? And how can they?" It was some. It was a good song. It had a lot of messages.
Yeah,
So it was like
very deep. And I
very
remember
deep.
the moment where him and Stevie Wonder performed that like on some awards show, and
Mm-hmm.
that he probably recognized that this is a deep song. For him to actually like not only clear the sample, but to actually
Mm-hmm.
perform it with him. That had to
Mm-hmm.
be a great moment. Rest in peace to Coolio. Yeah,
Rest in
that was a
peace,
great
man.
song.
Yeah, that's kind of sad too when you see like
Yeah.
some of those artists, like you see your Meyer coming up, and then you see they still conflicted with the internal problems they dealing with, like Coolio, DMX, Tupac.
Hmm.
It's just like
Hmm.
that's kind of like that'd be kind of tough to see that though. But at the end of the day, they still people just like us, and this is real life. This ain't TV. So it's not like the problems that we deal with because we're
That
not
is
famous.
so
They don't deal
true.
with it. Yeah.
Right, but it's so talented. Yeah, you just kind of have to, because everybody doesn't have the ability to do that. So they what they had was special for sure.
Yeah. So Jen, now that we're talking about like hip hop, of course, who's your favorite male hip hop artist ever, and who's your favorite female hip hop artist ever, and then lastly, like who's just your favorite hip hop artist? Period.
Okay, so and this is like female, like overall period, just are going back to the in time or what?
It's just overall,
This
period.
period. Um. Okay. Okay, so I guess I'll go back in time for this and just say, and I'm comparing her to people now. I'm gonna say MC Light, just
Okay.
because the style, she kind of pivot in throughout time. She went hard on she dabbled in the historic and the Afrocentric, and then she just a sick flow. You know what I mean? And then she
Yeah.
kind of went through her, whatever. Um, you know, but she always had a significant flow and style technique, no
She
matter
did.
what
She
the
did.
trend was. So I admire that.
The first song that come to my mind was that "Keep On,
Oh,
Keep and On." Yeah, I remember that. I remember that song because in a way she was kind of like
yeah,
talking, talking, she was talking a little sassy and that, but she kept it classy at the
she
same time compared to.
was. She did. She
Yeah, that was that.
was. Heck
That was a
yeah.
jam right there. That was a jam. All
Yeah,
right,
she
what about the
said she
male
was
side?
choosy about who she let knock
Right.
her
Yeah,
boots.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. Hey, but
Okay.
she was flowing in there. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
bend that key, I get a rid. What you say? Bend that key, I get rid of all company. She was going in on it, but that was a dope song. And her flow was cold on it.
Yeah, definitely. It was. For sure. She had style. Um, okay, so men not in a group, just men. I'm gonna have to say Calm Sense. That's my boy. I love Mr.
Common,
Common.
okay. Oh, yeah, common. Hey, what's that album? I know you the
Yeah.
coldest album B, the album B. Oh, that's cold. I just love that man. Like on the corner, that song, like
Yeah.
that album was a classic. So yeah, I like comments. I like his song hip hop because
It
he
really
just,
is.
just the metaphor he used on that. That's what I'm talking about. It's hip hop. That was dope. That was clever right there. So I like
Oh,
comments.
her. Yeah, definitely. ATR. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's like one of my favorites.
Yeah,
So,
comment is dope.
his
Comment is
metaphors are
definitely
just
dope.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, comment is dope.
But as like the new people out, I would say Kendrick definitely has my
Oh,
heart. With so many um
oh yeah, oh yeah, Kendrick dope.
moments that remind you of Tupac, but then just to the left with it. You know what I mean? Like it's like new age Tupac. I don't know. It's crazy, but I love it.
He's my favorite out of the newer rap artists. You know, I know a lot of people that some people taking flack about some people. I know some people when I was in grad school said, "Man, Kendrick is too deep. He made me feel like I'm depressed or something like that." I said, no, I find it therapeutic. So, but everybody different. But yeah, I like Kendrick. Yeah, that's what the guy told me. I like Kendrick the most out of the newer rappers for sure.
Yeah.
And now he's becoming like an OG in the game when you think about it. Like in this new era, like
He
him and J. Cole,
is.
like yeah, they becoming like more the OGs now that as we grow, like yeah. So that's how it is. Time
Yeah.
don't wait on nobody. I still remember when LeBron James first. I remember watching his first game in the NBA. I'm looking like, man, this man making all this money. He like 3-4 years older than me. He a teenager just like me. But he now
And that's
he
something.
doing yeah, yeah. But it's just like it's just how it is. So
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I'm stable. But yeah, that's a good reflection. Definitely good discussion. I appreciate you taking part in the discussion.
oh yeah.
Tell us about your content, what you have going on.
Okay, well, as you all know, my name is Trey Styles. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, a proud Detroit native. I'm the author of Black Boy Arise. You can find my book on Amazon. Uh, you can find it in Kindle or paperback. Currently working on a new novel that should be out probably late part of this year or probably early next year that I've been working on. So I got a podcast called Black Man Talk. One word, Black Man Talk. Not Black Men, Black Man Talk. And so you can find me on YouTube or other social media platforms.
Thank you. And then the name of your book, I think I said it wrong at first. What's the name of your book?
It's Black Boy Rise. I,
Is it Black
I know,
Boy Arise?
yeah, Black Boy Rise. Yeah, I didn't want. I didn't think it was
I'm
properly trying to correct me or show
sorry.
like it's cool. I mean I clarified it for
I
him. I didn't want to be like
just
no, I ain't know it's Black Boy Rise. I said I'll let you say okay, cool.
you know what? I was copying and pasting from a prior thing, and I'm like, you know what? That's the one with the mistake in it. Oh Lord, forgive me. Um, yeah. So, all right. So I will have the link for that. And just when I saw the link, I was like, oh no, that's not right. It's Black Boy Arise, but it's Black Man Talk. What I did was I sandwiched them together.
You understand?
Um, all right. But yeah, the link will be out there. Black Boy Arise is a good pickup on Amazon. You can get the digital copy or the actual book. I like to have book in my hand, so I actually have the book. So yeah, and we
Let me
have the
see it
link
again.
to Trey's what?
You said you actually had a book. Was that the book in your hand?
What the
'Cause
book?
I thought you had the book in your hand for a minute. Okay.
Oh, you know what? I have it for over here though. I do. You
Yeah.
know I got the
Yeah.
book.
I know. I'm just kidding with you.
But yeah,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, for sure. So that would have been perfect though for me to hold it up, right?
That would have been cool. But you know, you it's cool though. I know you got it though.
Yeah,
You wrote me a review and everything, and I appreciate that.
I do.
Mm. And I like the people.
Definitely.
I love that because
Definitely support.
thank you.
No, go ahead.
Oh no. So I just like when what I like about whenever a person purchases a book if it's a book I give them, I say if you do drop a review, always be honest, and I appreciate you being honest because that's to me. Some people like I mean like if I was to write a book and people thought it was whack, I want you to actually put that up there because for me personally, it's gonna help me grow.
Yeah.
You know, I really take the harsh truth
Okay.
with it pretty much, like all the time. That's why I appreciate you for actually leaving a review and all the rest of them that left a review. You know, because I worked really hard on it, and you know, I know art is basically subjective, but you know, I just anything I do, I put my all into it. So I was pretty proud of your review and the others' reviews that I received. You know,
Awesome. For sure. Definitely. If I can support, I, definitely will lend a hand if I can. But yeah, check it out, guys. If you made it this far on the YouTube version, please like, subscribe, share. I always forget to say that. We appreciate you. Trey will be back soon to chop it up again, hopefully. So, yeah. All right, guys. What else? Okay, yeah. So we appreciate you guys. Take a look at the links, and I feel like I'm forgetting something, but that's okay. I don't think I'm not. Oh, I was gonna say I got my little fake gold chain on for our hip hop conversation. I was trying to do a little b-boy,
one last
city
thing,
girl
Jen.
stance or whatever. But
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, you hear me?
what's up?
Before we go off the podcast, I want you to
Yeah,
know, Ben, that you a St. Louis native, right? Okay, to you, who's the greatest rapper to come from
yeah.
St. Louis? And then we'll end it.
Oh my god. I mean, I don't know how to go with Cornell Haynes,
Okay.
aka
Okay.
Nelly.
All right. All right. Okay. Just make it so. All right.
Yeah, we gotta rap for the homie, big
All right.
homie Nelly for sure.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great one. Take care. Thank you. Let's see.